In the next few minutes, you'll learn the exact Machiavellian loyalty framework that will prevent you from ever being blindsided by betrayal again. I'm going to show you how to spot which relationships in your life are real assets and which are ticking time bombs that will blow up when you need them most. By the end of this video, you'll have the same strategic clarity that helped history's most powerful people build unshakable alliances while everyone around them got stabbed in the back by people they trusted. This isn't just theory. You'll get the exact conditions that make or break loyalty. You'll be able to predict how people will act with scary accuracy and build relationships that actually last. People who master this framework never ask, "How could they do this to me?" They already know exactly who will stand firm and who will fold before the pressure even starts. Your entire understanding of trust is about to change. Think back to that first betrayal. The friend who left you when someone cooler came along. The coworker who stole your idea. The partner who chose someone else when things got hard. Remember that shock? That sick feeling in your stomach when you realized they weren't who you thought? That wasn't just you feeling sad. That was reality breaking through your false beliefs. What if I told you that moment wasn't a one-time thing? What if real wisdom isn't finding people who will never betray you, but understanding that everyone, yes, everyone, has conditions to their loyalty? Everyone has a breaking point. Everyone has a price. This isn't being negative. This is seeing clearly. Right now, you're living in a dangerous fantasy. You believe certain people in your life, your oldest friend, your spouse, your business partner, would stick by you through anything. But what happens when anything actually shows up? When it costs them something real? When staying loyal to you means losing status, chances, comfort, or belonging? When loyalty gets expensive, most people go shopping for a better deal. Ask yourself, who do you trust completely? Who do you think would put your needs ahead of their own? Now ask the hard question. What proof do you actually have? Not what they promised, what they've proven. The dangers of this fantasy aren't just feeling hurt. This blind spot is costing you leverage, strength, and power in every relationship that matters. It's making you vulnerable in ways you don't even see. Your safety is built on wishful thinking, not reality. But there's another way to live, where loyalty never surprises or disappoints you, where you can predict how people will act with scary accuracy, where you're never the one left wondering what happened. This change won't feel good at first. You'll need to look at your relationships without emotion. But once you get through this discomfort, you'll find a kind of freedom and power you've never felt before. Are you ready to see the world as it really is? Let me show you what your life looks like when you're trapped in the loyalty fantasy. You're the reliable one, aren't you? The one who shows up, keeps promises, makes sacrifices. The one who believes relationships are built on trust and commitment. You've built your whole life around these values. But look closer at the patterns. How many times have you been shocked by someone's sudden change of heart? The boss who promised you were next for promotion until his golf buddy's son needed a job. The friend who swore they'd keep your secret until sharing it made them popular in the group. The partner who said they'd do anything for you until walking away became easier. Stop. See these patterns for what they are. Not unusual betrayals, but normal human behavior. Each time, you told yourself it was a one-time thing. You fixed your worldview and kept believing. Because the alternative, that loyalty always has conditions, always has a price, feels too cold. too empty. But this belief is draining you. You're giving too much, promising too much, trusting too much. You're building your house on sand but calling it solid ground. Your trust isn't noble, it's naive. Who pays the emotional price when relationships show their true transactional nature? You do. Who's left scrambling to rebuild when alliances shift? You are. Who feels like a fool when others act in self-interest while you stuck to your principles? Only you. Think about the last time someone chose what was good for them over what was good for you. How long did it take you to recover? How much energy did you waste trying to understand why? How deeply did it shake your foundation? Drop a fire emoji if you felt this betrayal. That moment when you realized you were the only one playing by the rules you thought everyone had agreed to. Here's the mirror moment you need to face. Are you addicted to believing in unconditional loyalty because it's real? Or because it protects you from having to see people and relationships as they truly are? Your comfort is costing you power. 500 years ago, a man named Machiavelli was dealing with this exact same human pattern. After serving Florence loyally for years, political winds shifted. New rulers took power. Suddenly, the man who had given his life to public service found himself in prison, tortured and kicked out of his home. Loyalty didn't protect him. It made him vulnerable. From this terrible experience came The Prince, maybe the most honest book ever written about human nature and power. Machiavelli's main insight wasn't about being cruel or manipulative like many people think. It was about seeing human behavior without fantasy. Men will always prove untrue to you, he wrote, unless they are kept honest by constraint. This wasn't a bitter man talking. This was someone who had paid the ultimate price for believing in loyalty, now sharing the wisdom from his scars. Your scars can become wisdom or weaknesses. The choice is yours. Machiavelli understood something most of us fight against. Humans act primarily from self-interest, not because they're bad, but because it's our nature. Loyalty exists, but it's always on a scale, always subject to conditions and limits. The strength of loyalty directly matches how well interests align. Think about the water example Machiavelli used. Human loyalty, he said, is like water. It follows the easiest path. In normal conditions, it flows in predictable ways. But add enough pressure, whether opportunity, fear, or need, and it will find a new path. You didn't lose them. The current changed. This doesn't mean real connection is impossible. It means that understanding the conditions and limits of loyalty is necessary to building relationships that actually last. Imagine two people building fortresses. One believes his walls can't be broken and never tests them. The other constantly looks for weak spots, fixing vulnerabilities before they're attacked. Which fortress stands longer? Blind faith doesn't build fortresses. Strategic doubt does. Your relationships are fortresses. Your blind faith in unconditional loyalty has left them untested, unexamined, and dangerously exposed. Machiavelli would recognize our modern problem immediately. We live in a time when people can move and find opportunities like never before. The social punishments for breaking commitments have never been lower. The rewards for opportunism have never been higher. Yet we cling to an old model of loyalty that evolved in village societies where reputation was everything and options were few. Stop using village logic in a world of strangers. This gap between our loyalty expectations and reality isn't closing. It's getting wider every year with every new technology that makes connections more temporary. with every cultural shift that puts individual happiness above community obligation. The question isn't whether this transformation in loyalty is happening. The question is whether you'll see it clearly enough to navigate it skillfully. Clarity isn't cruel. Fantasy is. Take a breath. This perspective might feel cold, calculating, even negative. That reaction is normal. It's your comfortable worldview fighting to stay alive. But ask yourself, has your idealism about loyalty actually helped you? Or has it repeatedly left you vulnerable to those who operate with fewer illusions? Let's continue with clear eyes. Let's break down this loyalty fantasy, because understanding how it works is the first step toward freedom. The root of the loyalty fantasy lies in how we see things differently. We experience our own loyalty as a choice based on character and principles, while failing to see that others experience their loyalty based on situations and benefits. We say, "I am loyal because that's who I am." We don't see that others think, "I am loyal because it's good for me right now." You didn't misread them. You misunderstood human nature. This difference creates the perfect blind spot. When someone acts against you after you've counted on their loyalty, you experience it as a failure of character or a moral betrayal. What you're missing is that their behavior hasn't changed. Only the conditions around their decision have shifted. They didn't become disloyal. The math changed. Think about the loyalty ledger, the invisible accounting system working in every relationship. People stay loyal when they feel the relationship is in credit or at least balanced. But at enough imbalance, whether through opportunity cost, status differences, or changed circumstances, and the loyalty equation changes. Loyalty isn't a character trait, it's a calculation. This is where the mirror type enters. The person who shows you the uncomfortable truth about conditional loyalty. The mirror isn't villain or hero. They're simply the one who acts according to self-interest when most would pretend it's about principles. They're the friend who stops calling when your social value drops, the ally who switches sides when power shifts, the partner who finds irreconcilable differences when someone more attractive comes along. We hate the mirror because they force us to see what we've been avoiding. Loyalty has always been a market dynamic, not a moral absolute. The betrayal that hurts most isn't the action, it's the revelation. But wait, you might say. I know people who have shown amazing loyalty despite personal cost. How do you explain that? This is where we need more detail. Yes, extraordinary loyalty exists. But it's not magical or character-based like we pretend. It comes from specific conditions. Condition 1, identity investment. When loyalty to you has become part of who they are. Condition 2, reciprocity expectations. When future returns are expected to outweigh current costs. Condition 3, reputation calculations. When the social cost of disloyalty exceeds the benefit. And the final condition, structural constraints. When practical alternatives aren't available. The person who stays loyal through hardship isn't defying the loyalty equation. They're operating within a more complex calculation than you can see. Exceptional loyalty isn't an exception to the rule. It's proof of it. You owe yourself strategic clarity. You deserve relationships built on realistic expectations. You deserve the power that comes from seeing human nature accurately. The real tragedy isn't that loyalty has conditions. The tragedy is building your emotional and practical security on the false assumption that it doesn't. Your trust should be earned, not given. Here's your first empowering insight. Once you understand loyalty as conditional, you can begin to influence those conditions. You can't demand unconditional loyalty, but you can create conditions where betrayal costs more than commitment. The Machiavellian insight isn't that you should abandon loyalty yourself. Quite the opposite. The insight is that you must become a student of the conditions that create and maintain loyalty in others. You must learn to structure relationships where loyalty is reinforced by aligned interests, not just moral appeals. Morality motivates the few. Self-interest moves the many. Think of the most consistently loyal person in your life. Look deeper. Is their loyalty purely character-based? Or have you unconsciously created conditions that make loyalty to you the rational choice? Have you made betraying you costly? Have you made staying loyal rewarding? Have you aligned your interests so completely that what helps you helps them? You owe yourself strategic clarity. The moment you see loyalty as conditional is the moment you can begin creating conditions for lasting loyalty, rather than simply hoping for it. Hope isn't a strategy. Design is. This isn't manipulation, it's wisdom. It's building relationships on the solid foundation of human nature rather than the shifting sand of idealism. It's creating structures where loyalty emerges naturally from mutual benefit rather than moral obligation that crumbles under pressure. You owe yourself strategic clarity. You deserve relationships built on realistic expectations. You deserve the power that comes from seeing human nature accurately. The Machiavellian doesn't complain that water flows downhill. They build channels to direct its flow. Take another breath. Let these truths settle in your mind. This isn't about becoming cynical. It's about becoming strategic. It's not about expecting the worst, but preparing for it while creating conditions for the best. Move forward with me now into the hardest truth. It's time to strip away the comfortable masks you've been wearing. Who are you in this loyalty drama? The naive believer who repeatedly invests in people who haven't earned it. The bitter cynic who's been burned so badly you now expect betrayal everywhere? Or maybe the selective blind spot, clear-eyed about others' conditional loyalty while believing your inner circle is somehow different. Your wounds aren't your weakness. Your illusions are. Whatever identity you've built, it's sitting on sand. Ask yourself, what would change if you accepted that everyone, yes, everyone in your life has a breaking point where their loyalty to you would falter? Ask yourself, who have you become dependent on in ways that make you vulnerable when their loyalty calculation changes? Ask yourself, what painful truth about your relationships are you avoiding by clinging to the loyalty fantasy? Your comfort zone isn't protecting you. It's blinding you. The most dangerous person in your life isn't the obvious enemy. It's the ally whose conditions for loyalty you don't understand. It's the person whose breaking point you haven't identified. It's the relationship where you've confused intensity for durability. Obvious threats can't destroy you. Hidden vulnerabilities will. You owe yourself strategic clarity. You must stop building your security on the shifting sands of others' moral commitment. You owe yourself strategic clarity. You must see loyalty as a market force to be understood, not a moral quality to be assumed. You owe yourself strategic clarity. Because when you see clearly, you can finally build relationships that last. Here's the important part you need to hear. The people you trust most completely are the ones who could devastate you with the least warning. The depth of your trust equals the depth of your vulnerability. This isn't saying you should isolate yourself or be paranoid. It's a call to clear-sightedness about the nature of human bonds. The Machiavellian truth isn't that you should trust no one. It's that you should trust appropriately, with safeguards matched to vulnerability. Trust isn't yes or no. It's a scale with guardrails. Look at your closest relationships, the ones where betrayal seems unthinkable. Now ask the question you've been avoiding. What specific conditions maintain that loyalty? What would have to change for that loyalty to waver? What is their breaking point? Not asking these questions doesn't make betrayal less likely. It only ensures you'll be unprepared when conditions change. Ignored vulnerabilities don't disappear. They get bigger. The identity you need to embrace isn't the cynic who expects the worst, but the strategist who prepares for it while creating conditions for the best. Not the wounded soul who tests loyalty through escalating demands, but the clear-eyed realist who understands its limitations and works within them. When you release the expectation of unconditional loyalty, you gain something more valuable: the ability to create relationships that are resilient precisely because they acknowledge human nature rather than denying it. Stop demanding what doesn't exist. Start creating what could. The most freeing truth is this: when you stop expecting what humans can't reliably deliver, unconditional loyalty, you can start building relationships based on what they can: mutual benefit, aligned interests, and respected boundaries. Freedom begins when fantasy ends. Remember that first betrayal we talked about? The shock wasn't from the betrayal itself. The shock came from the gap between your expectations and reality. When you embrace the Machiavellian understanding of loyalty, that gap closes. The painful surprises lessen. Your ability to navigate relationships, personal and professional, transforms. This new perspective doesn't mean abandoning trust. It means grounding trust in clear-eyed assessment rather than hope or emotion. It means building relationships where loyalty emerges from alignment rather than obligation. Trust isn't dead. It's just been misunderstood. Imagine moving through the world without the constant disappointment of betrayed expectations. Imagine the freedom of seeing relationships for what they are, rather than what you wish they were. Imagine the power of understanding the loyalty calculation operating in every important connection in your life. This understanding creates choice. You can choose which relationships deserve your full investment. You can create structures that reinforce loyalty where it matters most. You can protect yourself where vulnerability is necessary, but unlimited trust is not. The Machiavellian master doesn't avoid deep connection. They create connections that last precisely because they're built on reality rather than illusion. The freedom from the loyalty fantasy isn't found in cynicism. It's found in strategic clarity about human nature. It's found in the power to create conditions where loyalty thrives, not despite self-interest, but because of it. You owe yourself this strategic clarity, the clarity that comes from seeing people as they are, not as you wish them to be. The clarity that protects you from unnecessary betrayal while creating space for authentic connection. Your allies have price tags, but when you understand the cost, you can finally build relationships worth keeping. Comment below with, "I see the real deal." This isn't just words. It's a declaration that you're ready to see your relationships with strategic clarity, to build connections based on reality rather than wishful thinking, to stop being blindsided by the predictable patterns of human behavior. This is where true power begins. This is where the loyalty fantasy ends and strategic clarity begins. This is where you finally see the world as it is and use its actual patterns instead of fighting against them. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell for the next step in this journey of strategic clarity. In our next video, we'll explore the power vacuum principle. Why certain people consistently get what they want, while others with equal talent stay stuck. You'll learn how to find and fill the invisible power vacuums that exist in every organization, relationship, and social group. Don't stay in the dark about the forces shaping your relationships and chances. Subscribe now for the next level of Machiavellian wisdom that most people will never access. In the quiet moments, when the masks come off and pretense falls away, remember this: loyalty is not a fixed star, but a changing pattern of lights, visible only to those with eyes to see its movements. The one who understands this lives in a different world than those who don't. A world where betrayal isn't a shock, but an expected possibility. Where trust isn't given blindly, but built strategically. Where security comes not from faith in others' character, but from clear sight of their interests. There is a deep loneliness in this knowledge. You will see what others don't. You will predict what others can't. You will build what others won't. But in that loneliness is a singular power. The power to navigate human nature as it is, not as we wish it to be. The power to create bonds that last not because they go beyond self-interest, but because they work with it. In the end, the loyalty fantasy offers a comforting fairy tale. Strategic clarity offers something better, a path to connections that endure not despite human nature, but because you finally understand it. In the next few minutes, you learn the exact Machiavellian loyalty framework that will prevent you from ever being blindsided by betrayal again. Look at your relationships with new eyes. What do you see now that was hidden before?